Welcome to the deep dive. Ever thought about how a market that seems really specific can actually reveal huge global trends and, where the money's headed? Today, we're doing just that. We're taking a deep dive into the global bifenthrin market. Now, bifenthrin, it might not be something you talk about every day. For anyone new to it, it's basically a synthetic pyrethroid. Think of it as a powerful, high-impact insecticide.
Right. And it's really valued because it tackles a whole range of pests. Everything from aphids and mites munching on crops right through to things like mosquitoes and ticks that carry diseases.
It's pretty versatile.
Exactly. That versatility, plus the fact that it lasts quite a while, makes it kind of a go-to in farming, but also in really crucial public health efforts around the world.
Okay. So our mission today is basically to unpack the growth trends, the projections for this specific chemical. We want to pull out the key bits of info to help you, our listener, get up to speed on this pretty fascinating topic quickly.
And just to be clear, the data we're discussing, it all comes from cognitive market research. So it's a solid factual base for our chat today.
Okay, let's unpack this. So starting globally then, the big picture. Because the sales figures, they really do tell a story, don't they?
I certainly do.
Back in 2021, global sales were $212.377 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's expected to climb to about $276.1 million by 2025. And then a pretty big jump forecast by 2033, looking at $466.644 million.
Yeah, and what's really striking there, I think, is the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR. Globally, it's pegged at 6.78%. Now, for such a specific product, that kind of steady, robust growth, it really signals, fundamental demand. This isn't some flash-in-the-pan trend. It's a critical tool. Seems like it keeps proving its worth against pests, maybe finding new uses, too.
That's a really good point. It's just a deep, ongoing need. Okay, so those global numbers are impressive, but the story gets even more interesting when we see where this growth is happening. Let's maybe break it down by region, starting with North America. So North America saw, let's see, $79.429 million in 2021, the forecast, up to $165.659 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of 6.319%. Pretty solid.
Solid is the word. And within North America, the U.S. is what's the major player. It's projected to go from about $63.4 million up to over $130 million. That's a CAGR of about 6.2%.
Okay.
Canada's growing a bit faster, actually. 6.9% CAGR, rising from roughly $10.4 million to $23.2 million. And Mexico is showing strong growth, too, from around $5.6 million to $12 million with a 6.5% CAGR.
So what does that tell us about North America?
Well, it looks like a market that's, maybe maturing, but still heavily reliant on effective pest control, especially for those big commodity crops. Think corn, soy, cotton. Plus, things like precision agriculture might be playing a role in how it's used.
Interesting. Okay, solid growth there. Now let's hop across the pond to Europe. Europe generated $45.024 million back in 2021, and it's projected to hit $93.329 million by 2033. The CAGR there is quite similar to North America, actually 6.322%.
Right. And even within Europe, with, often stricter environmental regulations, you still see key countries driving that growth. Germany, for example, shows a strong 7.013% CAGR. That's going from about $9.1 million to over $20 million.
Wow. Okay.
The UK is also solid, 6.7% CAGR, moving from around $5.8 million to $12.5 million. And France, while a slightly lower CAGR at 5.7%, is still significant, growing from $5.8 million to about $11.3 million.
And other countries, too.
Oh, yeah. We see consistent growth pretty much across the board. Italy, Russia, Spain, the Nordics like Sweden and Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg.
Yeah.
The whole region seems to need effective crop protection.
Okay, interesting. So even with that focus on sustainability, the need persists.
Seems so.
All right, now, brace yourself, because you mentioned Asia Pacific earlier.
Right, yeah.
This seems to be, the biggest regional growth story we're looking at today. It climbed from $52.669 million in 2021, projected to hit $128.327 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of 7.714%. That's noticeably higher. Here's where it gets really interesting.
You're absolutely right. It's definitely the hotspot. And the country-level numbers are, quite remarkable. Look at China. It's forecast to soar from $16.2 million to over $40 million. That's a 7.9% CAGR.
Huge jump.
And India, even faster, an 8.45% CAGR. It's projected to go from about $8.7 million to nearly $23 million.
So why such explosive growth there? What's driving it in APAC?
It seems to be a combination of factors. First, intensified agriculture. They need to feed huge, growing populations, so protecting crops is paramount. But also, crucially, public health. Think about fighting diseases spread by insects like dengue or malaria. Bifenthrin is often a key tool in those vector control programs.
Right, so it's hitting both food security and public health needs.
Exactly, it's that critical intersection.
And you mentioned subregions. Is there anything specific there?
Yeah, actually, Southeast Asia as a whole shows the highest growth within APAC. It's set to more than double, from roughly $2.7 million to $7.2 million. That's an 8.556% CAGR. And within that, even smaller places like Singapore show really high growth, an 8.2% CAGR. Japan, South Korea, Australia, Taiwan. They're all part of this significant regional expansion, too.
Okay, that is a powerful growth story in Asia Pacific. Let's move our focus now. What about South America?
South America also shows healthy growth.
Right, the numbers show it went from $15.5 million in 2021, projected to $35.1 million by 2033. That's a 7.035% CAGR. Pretty strong.
And similar to North America in some ways, it's heavily influenced by large-scale agriculture, especially commodity crops for export. Brazil is a major driver, obviously, growing from $6.17 million to nearly $14 million, a 6.9% CAGR. Protecting those massive soy and cornfields is key.
Makes sense.
Argentina is growing even slightly faster in percentage terms, 7.68% CAGR, going from $2.26 million up to $5.5 million. And you also see solid contributions from places like Colombia, Peru, Chile. Yeah. They all face significant agricultural pest challenges.
Okay, so agriculture is the main story there. Got it. Next stop, the Middle East. The market there went from just under $13 million in 2021 to a projected $29 million by 2033. That's a 6.936% CAGR. What's the picture there?
Well, in the Middle East, it seems bifenthrin plays a role in both agriculture, often quite specialized or arid agriculture, and also public health, like vector control in cities. Turkey stands out with a strong CAGR of 7.3%, growing from about $2 million to $4.8 million.
Okay.
And the UAE is even higher, 7.5% CAGR, projected to grow from $2.3 million to over $5.5 million. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, they're all showing consistent growth, too, reflecting those dual needs.
Interesting mix. Okay, last but not least, Africa. Africa's market is smaller overall, starting at about $6.8 million in 2021, but it's projected to reach $15.2 million by 2033. That's a 6.322% CAGR, similar to Europe and North America.
Yeah, Africa is definitely an emerging market for this product. The growth seems driven by expanding agriculture efforts, trying to improve food security, and those ongoing public health battles against insect-borne diseases. Nigeria, for instance, shows steady growth, about 6.6% CAGR, going from under $1 million to nearly $2 million.
Right.
And South Africa shows a bit stronger growth, nearly 7% CAGR, climbing from $2.65 million to over $6.3 million. The rest of Africa contributes to that upward trend as well, as investment in agriculture and health continues.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground there, so we've seen growth pretty much everywhere. So what does this all mean when we put it together?
Well, I think if we connect this to the bigger picture, these trends really underscore a sustained, growing demand across really critical sectors. We're seeing its importance in agriculture, obviously, for food security. That's fundamental. But equally important is its role in vector control, in public health, especially in regions fighting malaria, dengue, Zika, and so on.
Right.
So it's not just a nice to have, it seems to be a fundamental tool for many countries.
Yeah, it really paints a picture of this uniform upward trend, doesn't it? Across all these different regions, different economies, different climates. It showcases this global reliance on this specific kind of insecticide technology. It's not just one hotspot driving everything. It's global.
Exactly. And it suggests that, despite ongoing research into alternatives, maybe biological controls or other chemicals, bifenthrin's specific characteristics, things like its broad spectrum action and how long it lasts, well, they continue to make it either preferred or, frankly, necessary for a lot of these key applications.
So summing it all up then, the global bifenthrin market is showing really consistent, strong growth. Particular acceleration in Asia Pacific, especially Southeast Asia, driven by that mix of farming needs and public health demands.
Precisely. And understanding these kinds of specific market movements, I think it gives us a much deeper feel for how global demand, public health, and farming practices are all intertwined. It's a great example of how one specialized product can actually serve these really broad, fundamental human needs.
Absolutely. Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about this bifenthrin story, what other seemingly niche or specific global markets might be out there right now experiencing this kind of significant steady growth and quietly shaping our future in ways we're maybe only just starting to grasp?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We often take for granted the invisible forces at play in industries that underpin our daily lives, like what keeps our food supply secure, how we maintain healthy public spaces, even how our homes stay, pest-free. These aren't always headline-grabbing topics, but they are absolutely essential. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one such critical, yet often unseen player, a single pervasive chemical compound known as bifenthrin. Our deep dive into the evolving landscape of the global bifenthrin market isn't just about a chemical. It's really a microcosm of this global tug of war. Between agricultural necessity, public health, environmental stewardship, and cutting-edge science. Our mission is to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge from our sources, to help you understand the complex forces driving, challenging, and, well, transforming this pivotal sector, which plays a surprisingly significant role in everything from agricultural productivity to public health and even structural pest control. We'll explore the key drivers fueling its growth, the significant challenges it faces, and the innovative trends shaping its future. So let's start at the beginning. What exactly is bifenthrin, and what makes it such a central player in global pest management?
Right. Well, what's truly foundational here is that bifenthrin is a synthetic pyrethroid insecticide. Now, a pyrethroid is basically a highly effective man-made chemical. It's designed to mimic natural compounds, the ones found in chrysanthemums. They're known for rapidly disrupting insect nervous systems, which is, well, why bifenthrin is so powerful. Its pivotal role spans three major areas. It's crucial for protecting crops, managing disease-carrying insects and public health, and literally safeguarding our homes and infrastructure from pests.
Okay, that's a pretty broad scope for just one compound. It sounds incredibly versatile.
Yeah.
But tell me, what are the main forces pushing this market forward, ensuring its continued importance despite new challenges cropping up?
Well, one of the foremost catalysts is simply increasing agricultural demand. That's a big one. As global food consumption continues its steady rise, I mean, we're talking billions more mouths to feed. There's just immense pressure on farmers to protect crop yields. Bifenthrin steps in here as a remarkably reliable agent. It's widely applied to shield essential crops like corn, cotton, various fruits from destructive pests. Think about the sheer scale of modern farming. Farmers are striving to meet these increasingly high productivity benchmarks, and bifenthrin helps them achieve that efficiency.
So it's not just about protecting crops, but quite literally feeding a growing global population.
Hmm.
Are there particular regions or specific crop types where this pressure makes bifenthrin almost, well, indispensable?
Absolutely. Its reliability makes it a go-to in high-value crops, where even minor pest damage can mean significant economic losses. Beyond that, another significant driver is its broad spectrum efficacy and its long-lasting impact. It offers effective control against a really wide range of pests, from ants and beetles to aphids and, yes, termites. What's more, its performance holds strong across varying climates and soil conditions. Pretty robust stuff. This makes it a truly universal solution, whether for large-scale agricultural use, residential pest problems, or even industrial settings. That kind of consistent versatility, well, it contributes substantially to its global popularity.
Its adaptability sounds almost unparalleled. Does this incredible versatility mean its reach extends far beyond, say, farm fields, into our everyday urban landscapes, perhaps?
It definitely does. Yeah, we're seeing increased usage in public health and structural pest control, especially in urban settings. For instance, in new constructions, bifenthrin is often a go-to for termite control, protecting the very foundations of buildings. It's also used extensively in vector management, basically, controlling disease-carrying insects like mosquitoes, think malaria or dengue, particularly in dense urban zones. And as cities expand and public awareness around hygiene grows, municipalities and individual consumers are embracing bifenthrin-based solutions more than ever for general household pest deterrence, too.
Hmm, interesting. But of course, nothing this powerful comes without its trade-offs, right? You mentioned the balancing act earlier, and I imagine that's particularly true when we look at the challenges this market faces. What are the major red flags or, hurdles bifenthrin is currently navigating?
Yeah, this raises an important question about balancing utility with responsibility. It's a key issue. One pressing restraint is the existence of increasingly stringent regulatory frameworks. This is huge. It's particularly true in environmentally cautious regions, like the European Union, for example. Because bifenthrin is classified as a pyrethroid, and it has known aquatic toxicity, meaning it can be harmful to fish and other aquatic life, it faces very tight restrictions. And these aren't just minor adjustments. We're talking demanding reformulations, more rigorous registration procedures that can certainly slow down market expansion.
Right. So these regulations aren't just slowing growth. They sound like they're fundamentally altering how these compounds are developed and used. What are the specific health and environmental concerns driving these regulations? Are they significant?
That's right. These stringent regulations are forcing a profound shift. It's not just about slowing growth. It's more about re-engineering the whole concept of pest control, pushing companies towards, green chemistry from the ground up. It turns what was once maybe seen as a bottleneck into a catalyst for a whole new generation of solutions. And to answer your question, yes, there are clear links between extended exposure to bifenthrin and potential risks for humans and animals. What's maybe even more concerning for regulators and environmentalists is its potential to accumulate in ecosystems, especially aquatic environments. It poses risks to the food chain. These issues have certainly raised red flags and are pushing for stricter guidelines, which in turn actively encourages shifts towards alternative pest control methods.
Okay, and speaking of alternatives, is the rising preference for more natural options posing a significant challenge to bifenthrin's dominance? Are consumers, actively seeking out non-chemical solutions now?
Definitely. Yeah, there's a noticeable shift in consumer behavior. It's driven by increased health consciousness and environmental awareness. You see it everywhere. This has led to a surge in demand for sustainable agricultural practices, and with it, a rising preference for organic and bio-based pesticides. These alternatives, things like biopesticides, plant-based solutions, they're perceived by many as safer, more eco-friendly. This creates direct and, frankly, very real competition for established products like bifenthrin, especially as the market for these green alternatives keeps maturing.
So, given these significant hurdles, particularly the regulatory pressures and this shift towards green solutions,
Mm.
is it fair to say bifenthrin is fighting an uphill battle? Or are there surprising innovations actually making it more resilient than we might think?
That's what's fascinating here, how the market is adapting. It's showing significant resilience, actually. One exciting development is its integration into advanced formulation technologies, things like slow release and microencapsulation systems. So instead of just a blanket spray, imagine tiny capsules that slowly release the compound over time, or formulations designed to stick only where needed. These innovations allow for controlled release, targeted application, and minimal impact on non-target organisms, all while extending the product's efficacy. This evolution is crucial because it helps bifenthrin adapt to those stringent environmental regulations without completely sacrificing its
That's
performance.
clever. A way to maintain effectiveness while addressing some of those environmental concerns. Are there new areas of application popping up beyond traditional agriculture or, say, urban pest control, where it's finding success?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're seeing a rising demand for bifenthrin in turf, lawn, and garden care segments. It's quite noticeable. Think about the perfectly manicured greens of a golf course or the carefully tended landscapes of commercial spaces, even our own home gardens. The desire for visually appealing and pest-free green environments is a significant driving force, especially in regions like North America and the Asia Pacific, where landscaping is both, a lifestyle and a major industry. It's really about maintaining that aesthetic appeal and preventing damage from common lawn and garden pests.
So it's finding new niches, both big and small, in maybe unexpected places.
Yeah.
What about geographic expansion? Are there new markets where bifenthrin is gaining ground, perhaps due to different economic priorities or needs?
Yes, definitely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, there's significant expansion happening in emerging agricultural markets. Think Latin America, Southeast Asia, parts of Africa. These regions are rapidly ramping up commercial agriculture, and well, they're drawn to bifenthrin for its proven effectiveness and its cost efficiency. That's key. In these often budget-conscious economies where maximizing crop output is a national priority for food security, economic growth bifenthrin provides a powerful, affordable pest control solution. It delivers tangible results, which makes it highly attractive there.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear the global bifenthrin market is marked by a truly complex interplay. Expanding applications, regulatory scrutiny, continuous technological advancement, and significant regional diversification. It's a really dynamic landscape.
That's right. It really is. Whether it's used on a sprawling sugarcane field, protecting vital crops that feed communities, or in a suburban backyard just to keep unwanted pests at bay, bifenthrin continues to be a valuable tool in global pest management. Its journey, I think, reflects the broader challenges and innovations in how we manage pests in our very interconnected world.
And that leads us to a final thought for you, our listener. Given this ongoing tension between agricultural necessity, environmental concerns, and scientific innovation, how might similar essential compounds evolve, to balance global needs with increasing sustainability demands? And what role do you think policy and consumer choice will play in shaping their future?